Arvoisat katselijat, me olemme saaneet tähän pöydän ääreen Bill Carnegan. Hän on Yhdysvaltain keskuskauppakamarin presidentti ja me tulemme saamaan tähän keskusteluun nyt amerikkalaisen aspektin. Ja keskustelumme jatkuu englanninkielisenä ja se tekstitetään teille suomeksi.
Were you nice to me?
Very, I was saying you're a very handsome American. Well, some time ago, Soviet scientist Sergei Kapitsa said that the Cold War is over and we know who won it. West Germany and Japan. Guess who lost it?
Somebody said the other day, after 50 years, the United States and the Soviet Union are back together again, competing with Germany and Japan.
Yeah, but when we look at Europe, we can clearly see that the dominance we used to have from United States is over. Both in the economic life and also in the information, we don't hear so much about. Now it's Germany who's the locomotive of Europe. Do you agree?
We think that Europe is assuming its rightful position in the world economic affairs. And we really are talking about, you say Japan, I would say the Far East, the Japan and the Four Tigers, with China a long ways away. But balancing those two is Europe. Europe is a peer. And obviously Germany has done very well in the European scene.
It's also interesting how strongly Japanese companies are coming into Europe with the manufacturing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that you'll find that Korea will do the same. When I was in Hungary, Korea had established, South Korea had established relationships with Hungary, and within 6 months their students were number 2 in number at the international school. The Koreans are very aggressive.
But can we say, Mr. Carnegie, that the Americans have not been too eager to invest their money to the old Eastern Bloc countries today?
I would say this. First of all, we have some structural problems in the United States that we have to fix. The government, we still have some obsolete export controls that have to be done. We have an export-import bank that does not make us competitive with some of the more export-conscious countries. And on top of it, we have a business community that unfortunately is much more oriented to the short term, and investment in Eastern Europe is going to be a long-term investment. I think it's a tremendous opportunity. I think it's got to attract all of our that part of industry which invests for the long term.
I'm very surprised to find out that Japanese are investing in car industry. They have their plants in few Eastern European countries already. The Germans are doing the same. And as I understand that the American auto industry is not doing very well, so you are not looking at Europe in that respect. You are not trying to come on that former Eastern European market with your cars.
Well, I don't know. I noticed since I've been here in Finland that General Motors has announced a major engine plant. I'm not sure exactly.
General Motors together with Saab. Yes,
yeah,
they are.
And I would think that the U.S. industry will invest heavily. General Electric made a major investment in Hungary,
yes.
And the opportunities we have. One of the major clients of our firm, a group called the Pritzker Group from Chicago, have made a major investment.
But it's nothing compared with the Japanese and Germans, really.
Well,
you know, you're investing in agricultural things, I understand, more in the grassroots level. And the Japanese are making their own banks, they are bringing the high-tech, cars, everything. And Germans also. This is what surprises us.
Well, we
You short of money?
we have a few banks that are in trouble in the United States. Maybe you may have noticed that.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, but I would think that although the American companies are perhaps not as aggressive as the Japanese or the Koreans, that we will find our major industrial enterprises here.
But what
we have put together for example, our U.S. ambassador to Hungary has just announced.
A little bit another question. Our officials in Moscow speak about cooperation, economical cooperation between Soviet Union and United States. What do you think about that? I think it's something about economical aid to Soviet Union, nothing to do with cooperation.
Well, we have not seen. At least I have not seen any great desire to invest into the Soviet Union. What I see is a great desire to invest in countries, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary. Eventually, although we have a lot of emotional ties to Poland because of major Polish population centers, I see Poland, Romania, Bulgaria coming afterwards. When the Soviet Union will be on that investment tack, I would be hard for me to say. I don't hear much interest at this point.
What do you think about Soviet Union's economical future?
Well, from what I see, it's a disaster. It's a disaster.
Just now, but
Yeah.
About after 5-10 years.
Oh yeah, I would.
What
say,
happened with the empire? What do you think?
Well, if I can't speak to the political side, but to the economic side, I would say it's a very long-term picture for investment in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, from what I've seen, has never really had a private sector economy. They've always had central direction, whether it was the Tsar or a communist party, and trying to reorient a people to the private sector, from my standpoint, is going to be very difficult. I visited Czechoslovakia in November, and the people I talked to talk my language.
Yes.
They're hardworking, they're enterprising, they're willing to take chances.
What kind of guarantees you, as a businessman, as an investor, you need in Soviet Union? What kind of guarantees you demand from Moscow government?
Well, one of the problems, obviously, some of our major clients, I'm a public accountant, have had major business ties with the Soviet Union. Pepsi-Cola, McDonald's, hamburgers have gone in, but those are consumer-oriented industries and companies. I do not see a major emphasis, and obviously we put together some consortiums, I don't know whether you've seen, of major companies to go in and try to work out a joint arrangement, joint ventures. They have failed so far. Now, whether or not they're looking for some kind of guarantee, in Pepsi's case, it's a barter with Soviet vodka. Where the others are going to be able to get the investment, I can't say. I will say this. My impression is that the work ethic of the Soviet Union isn't the work ethic of Western Europe. And something's really got to happen to turn that around.
Are you lazy people, or what is the problem? Actually, he tries to say that.
Explain. Do you think about you Estonians or Soviet
this is what I was
citizens in somewhere
yeah,
Soviet Union?
that's good.
Yes, that's my next question.
That's the point.
My next question is that imagine that the Baltic countries can break free.
Right.
Would they then be more lucrative for your plans?
I would think so. Let me say, the New York Times had a lengthy article on Wednesday. It happened to be the newspaper I brought with me on the plane, so I read all of the newspaper. The initial reaction of West Germany to the East German work ethic has been one of horror, because the East Germans are leaving work freely, something a West German would never do, to go shopping.
What do they shop?
Yeah, there are a lot of things coming in and they want to go see it. But I'm just saying that it's going to take a little while. The trade minister I met with for a couple hours in Budapest said, my people have lost their desire to work, and we have got to reinstill the work ethic because there has been no motivation for them to work, no reward system that tied with hard work. So he said he had a number of examples.
Another thing was, I was thinking to ask, we are speaking about work ethics, but another thing that strikes us Westerners going to either to the Eastern European countries or to the Soviet Union is the impoliteness. You know, when you go to a service desk anywhere at the airline or somewhere, everybody seems to be very impolite. How has this come up? Excuse me?
Like in banks in Finland.
Well, no, don't hurt his feelings. Don't hurt his feelings. But really, have you noticed it yourself? We notice it every time we go to the... How are you going to change that people will be service-minded, you know, and polite and willing to have clients and really making best to serve them?
We have different societies. We have different peoples. We have different systems. And in our system, people thinking not so much about money just now and not to earn money more. It's impossible to earn money.
I think
you know, we
all
have
the socialist
for
countries,
example,
people are very, you know, money-minded, and also they're very attached to all material things. As a matter of fact, they're very materialistic.
Socialist economical system or socialist system making people very nervous. You know, it's if we're looking our society, it's quite normal. Yes, it's quite normal. But you know, about working, we have one work, but 3 people doing this one work.
Then they should have time to be polite.
Right. You know, interesting, they had some stories about the training program that McDonald's has instituted on opening their first shop in Moscow, and they've taught them to smile. And one of the young fellows said, I'm supposed to smile all the time. I hope none of my friends come here because they'll all think I've gone loony. He said there's nothing to smile about.
But Mr. Auer, have you noticed this problem of work ethics when you are informed by the Finnish companies and know?
I wouldn't like to comment of work ethics in Soviet Union.
Please
but
do.
No. I am worried about work ethics in Scandinavian country and Finland, and I'm afraid that our work ethic will be the same lower level than in Sweden. And you said they needed 1 to 3
sickest people in the world.
Yes, sickest people. You need 1/3 extra.
We have to understand the US-based companies. If we have a high-tech company working in Silicon Valley, for example, we have to understand that they have to first look at the US market, and then next maybe Europe or Far East. So we are really looking now, when we are talking about that US-based companies are trying to come into Estonia, that's a real long-run process.
Well, it's as long as from Japanese coming to Estonia.
I don't mean distance, I mean way of thinking.
Also a way of thinking as long.
I don't know. For us, just now is not so important to smile and work. For us,
very important.
Yes,
when
after that,
smiling,
but for us,
the whole world smiles with you.
For us, it's very important just now to work freely.
Yes.
It's very important. After that, we starting to smile.
You don't have a lot to smile about right now, but
nothing to smile, nothing to laugh.
The head of the Hungarian U.S. Business Council heads a meatpacking company in Budapest, and his objective is to expand his company enough to use all the excess labor that he can't fire. In other words, he's got about 20% excess labor. So what his objective is to build up an export market for his Hungarian hams so that he can absorb this labor. He said if we went free today, we would have a great unemployment problem in Hungary. So we have to work on a way to absorb that excess labor.
Mr. Titmade, have you already chosen from the Harvard University advisor for you? Because I understand the United States, Harvard University is really having a department for Eastern European countries, and I understand that also Lithuania.
Such kind of contacts, of course. But I have one very special question. What do you think about Baltic states as a buffer zone between East and West in future?
Taking our place now.
You mentioned it already.
I must say we know very little about the Baltic states, but there is a tremendous amount of sympathy for your current problems.
Send him Jeffrey Sachs.
One of the interesting things to me is where the individuals come from who will provide the leadership. Who are the Pavels from Czechoslovakia who are not tainted by being in the government before independence.
Are you tainted? Yeah.
No, I'm just wondering. I didn't want to be personal, but I...
Yes, but an honest and a straight answer. How tainted are you?
I don't know exactly.
But he has anyway started a new party just recently in Estonia, and it's a right-wing party and capitalistic party. But he
That's what they all are nowadays.
but he is criticizing us Finns that we are too capitalistic-minded. What would you say, Mr. Kanega? What kind of capitalist is a good capitalist? Is that a debt capitalist?
let me say the North Koreans are very jealous of the South Koreans. They have...
Is it real?
Yeah, absolutely.
The North Koreans.
Yes.
To the extent that they know what's in South Korea. The Chinese are very jealous of Hong Kong and Taiwan and Singapore. I think that's the best measure of all of where capitalism can move. I think it's in the desire of other people to live in the way that capitalism has provided the Chinese in Singapore, for example, or the Chinese in Hong Kong. The desire of people to get out of China to Hong Kong is a pretty good measure of where the people's hearts are. It's painful. It's going to be painful.
Little bit, because we waiting 50 years and you working and working, we have no possibilities to work freely. Little bit, but just now Finland for us is a very good country, and you're showing to us what to do in future. Your model is very good for Estonia, of course, but not in economy.
So instead of taking from Harvard an advisor, you take from the Helsinki. Yes. Just give me a call. For you. He's the right age. Must be young.
And
yes.
Of course.
And we used to be jealous for the Swedes, but we aren't anymore.
No, he's jealous of the Swedes.
No,
We think globally.
I speak personally. I can't speak for the U.S. government, but I can tell you, we would love for you to be buffer states. We would love for you to obtain your freedom.
And
we think it was wrong. It was wrong.
To Estonia.
If you give return.
No, I think once again I gave you some of my
economical guarantees.
In the same way we're going into Czechoslovakia.
We
will be going.
Established a contact.
Yep.
Very good.
With the president of the Board of Commerce in United States.
One thing we do have, we have a special group known as the Center for International Private Enterprise. And in Washington, I'm on the board of that group, and our objective is to support institutions in the countries that are emerging that will support entrepreneurial effort, management style, and anything we can do to support, if you will, capitalism.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You must start something Estonian trading company.
You can continue. Arvoisa yleisö, täällä jatkuu nämä liikenneuvottelut nytten Eestin ja Yhdysvaltain keskuskauppakamarin presidentin kanssa. Kuten näette, näin lähtevät amerikkalaiset liikkeelle.